Good evening, students. Can you hear me? Hello. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Okay, so there's a power failure. Power interrupted now. Now we can continue our session once again. So we'll go through because there is no time once again to do the session. So we are discussing the chapter 3. So chapter 3 start with the chapter introduction. I have discussed that. So then that's a 3.1, then 3.2. So you have to write on your study design. So first you explain what is it, quoting some researchers. So under the study design, so you explain what is the study design, and in the second slide I have mentioned the study. So basically there are two approaches. So basically, right? So now they are in the previous discussion I mentioned. So you have to explain, you have to state the particular study design. So I mentioned there are three: exploratory, descriptive, and causal. The particular researcher mentioned here, in his study, this study used quantitative, exploratory, descriptive design to identify, analyze, and describe factors contributing to the particular research problem. Adolescent mothers' non-utilization of contraceptives to prevent unplanned pregnancy. So that is the research problem, the core area, what they want to study. That's the issue, right? So to solve that, to understand, right? So the particular researcher use, so important thing is the quantitative, exploratory, descriptive design. So in your research too, so you have to mention what is the particular research design. It's a quantitative or qualitative or explorative or causal or descriptive or mix of it. So mention that, right? So the particular research, the researcher saying the HBMOS uses the framework for collecting data. So that's the particular framework they have used. That is not necessary for you. So then in here, so you have to mention the particular, the design. This research explaining the quantitative, exploratory, descriptive design. So that is what. So you have to learn. That's a key point for you. So then the researchers say that he used the quantitative. So in the university, in the research methodologies, so you have you have gone through the particular type of research approaches, right? The research approaches with the quantitative or qualitative. So then you have to mention, right? So in the study design, having a subheading. So you have to explain something quantitative research. So you can give some brief introduction, right? The particular researcher explaining the study attempted to quantify factors identified contributing to the adolescent mother's non-utilization of contraceptives in the pediatric area. So he mentioned what he trying to use, what the particular researcher trying to do. He said the study attempt to quantify factors. Quantify. So then in the quantitative research, you quantify. So likewise, you have to mention some that, right? Relating to your research, I don't know your research area, right? This study attempted to quantify factors, identify it as, so then you can mention your area. So then the second point, the quantitative data can be transposed into numbers in a formal objective systematic process to obtain information and describe variables and their relations. Why we adopt? So what are the benefits of quantitative data, quantitative research? So he's mentioned the quantitative data can be transformed into numbers. So basically in the beginning, so we have discussed, so basically we use numbers. So the ideas, the attitudes, so you can transform into numbers, right? The quantitative data can be transformed into numbers in a formal, objective, systematic process to obtain information and describe variables and their relations. So finally, so getting the numbers by analyzing the software, so you describe the variables, you describe their relationship, you describe their impact, right? In the quantitative, so you have to mention something like, right? So then, so here the researcher explaining in the study design, this study use a quantitative, exploratory, descriptive design. So then you have to mention what is. If you use the term exploratory, what is mean exploratory descriptive design? In this research, so in the design, so you have to say something. The study was exploratory because it explored the factors contributing to the adolescent mother's utilization, blah, 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 right? So you have to explain something, the key things you have taken. Exploratory research studies what has not previously been studied and attempted to identify new knowledge. So in the beginning, we said, what is exploratory? So there are not much research available, no findings, no new information. So then you do the exploratory research. So here you mention exploratory research studies what has not previously been studied and attempt to identify new knowledge, new insight, new understanding, and new meaning to explore factors. So if you use the exploratory study, so you have to explain that, right? Then the third point, the research design was exploratory because it met with the criteria described by Follett and Hunger, right? So likewise, so you have to say something regarding your exploratory research design. So many, right? So not much necessary, but if you use the term exploratory, you have to explain. Okay, so this is what, so then in the chapter 3, so in the introduction, so you use some introduction, so then you study design, you have to explain. So what is the particular research types you have, you study design, right? Exploratory, quantitative or qualitative, you use some terms, so then you have to explain. So then we are coming to the next area, 3.3. 3.3 is a population sample and sampling technique. So that's a very important area, right, in your study. So now in the chapter 3, right? So so you have to mention clearly, right? So you have to mention clearly the particular population, the sample and sampling technique. Now, assume that, so you want to study the, say, job stress among the team members in the, say, apparel industry. Now, in your study, now you want to, in the chapter 2, so I think you have developed your hypothesis based on your framework. So now, so you have to collect the data, right? So you have to collect the data. So then your research title may be the job stresses among the team members in apparel industry in Sri Lanka, or apparel industry in Northwestern province or Western province or BOI industry, whatever. So then, so you have to mention your population. So then you cannot study whole population. So what you have to do? Then you have to have a sample. So you have to explain that sample, and from the sample, how we are going to collect your sampling technique, right? So this is what I'm going to explain very briefly. You know these areas, the population, sample, and sampling technique. So here you give some brief explanation to the population, right? Polite and Hangler define the population as the totality of all subjects, all the elements that conform to set of specifications comprising of entire groups. So blah blah. So you can quote any researcher, famous researcher, Saunders, or even the Sekaran, so whatever. Right. So you have to use some definition. So you define what is mean by population. Right. The second point, Low, Bendo, Wood, and Harbour describe the sample as. So earlier you have given definition to the population. Now you describe the sample. Sample as a portion or a subset of research population selected to participate in study. Represent, so you cannot study whole population. So then from the population, you select the particular sample. So you have to give some brief introduction to these two terms, population and sample, right? So here, so we give somewhat information relation to your research, right? In particular, so I explain this way, the research population for this study, right? I am referring to for this study, comprised all the adolescent mothers aged 90 or younger at the birth of their children in the pediatric particular area. So then you can say, if your research is the team members of the apparel industry, so that's in the say Western province or Northwestern province or Kandy district, whatever. So mention your population, right? Then the particular researcher mentioning the eligibility criteria specify the characteristic of that people in the population or process in order to be included in the study. So in this study, so he explained in the eligibility criteria that in this study, the participants had to be mothers, age 19 or younger. So when their babies were born, had to attend one or two participating will baby, so whatever. So then, so this part not necessary even for your research, but so basically explain the population, right? So then the sample, so the sample, then sampling technique, right? So here the researcher using non-probability or convenience sampling was used because questionnaires were distributed to adult mothers aged 19 or younger who attended one of the two participating well baby clinics in the particular town or area, right? So the particular researcher used the convenience sampling, right? So that is the non-probability. So in the research methodology, you have learned that there are major two types of sampling, right? Probability sampling, non-probability sampling. So then, so you have to mention, so what is your particular sampling? Is a probability or non-probability, right? So then, so look at the second point, not every adolescent mothers had an equal chance of being included in the sample because there was no census or complete list of adolescent mothers living in the area. So he mentioned he has no full complete list, right? Consequently, there was no sampling frame which sample could be drawn randomly to ensure that every adolescent mothers had an equal chance of being included. So in the random sampling, so we give a chance, opportunity to the particular, right, the event or a particular unit, right, to be included. But in the non-probability sampling, so there is no such opportunity given. So hence the researcher used non-probability or convenience. So you justify why you have used the non-probability or convenience sampling. Pure, right, mentioning just your sampling technique is not sufficient, not enough. ඔබේ sampling technique එක විතරක් just mention කරන්න බෑ. So you have to have a rationale. Explain it, justify why you have used in this particular research. The researcher explaining why he or she used convenient sampling. He said there was no sampling frame from which sample could be drawn randomly to ensure that every Edison mother had an equal chance of being with sample. So then hence the researcher used non-probability or convenient sampling, right? So we was state that convenient sampling is the rational choice in case where it is impossible to identify the members of the population. So population members if there are no list total framework, so then you can use the convenient sampling. So this is what, right? So then, so up to this, so you have to mention in the population what is your sample, what is your sampling technique, right? So it is very important. So this is what you are comfortable, right? So you give the introduction, your study design, then the population. So then the sample and sampling technique. So then we are going to the next. So any questions in this regard up to this point? මොනවාරි ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවද? So you have to mention the population, the particular sample, how you have drawn, right? Sometimes you may use the stratified random sampling. So then there you have to clearly mention your stratified random sampling and sampling technique, right? So whatever, it's a very simple, right? So then, so we are going to 3.4 conceptualization. So your conceptual framework, right? Conceptualization, right? So earlier I have used a separate research. Now I use a research relating to a management, right? So I have not taken from A to Z one research because some people may copy it. So then from this point onward, I used research related to management. So conceptualization. So conceptualization. So you in the chapter 2, you have already, right? You have already gone through the process, right? But here, so you have to briefly explain, right? So the conceptual framework in figure 3.1. So then, so this is how you can write the conceptual framework, figure 3.1. So this is the figure 3.1, right? The conceptual framework figure 3.1, which in bracket of the study is developed using established theories. So adjacence and adjacence TPB, right? Theory of planned behavior. Theory of plan, I think you have heard about, you have studied theory of planned behavior. And McClellan, so theory of needs. So then in the conceptualization, in developing conceptual framework, so you have to clearly mention on what basis, on what ground you have developed your conceptual framework, right? So where the theoretical underpinning comes from. කොහෙන්ද මේ conceptual framework එක නිර්මාණය කරගන්න අවශ්‍ය theoretical background එක එන්නේ? From where the arguments coming, right? In the literature review, I think you have done already your theoretical framework. So very briefly you say here, my conceptual framework of the studies developed using the established theories, adjacence theory of planned behavior and McClellan's. So theory of needs, he used two theories, theory of planned behavior and theory of needs. So it is very important. So you have to mention, otherwise you cannot just mention your conceptual framework. So there should be a relationship, some connection. So based on the theoretical framework, you develop this conceptual framework. So your theoretical framework in the literature review. But here, as an introduction, you just mention the conceptual framework of the studies developed using established theories. Whatever. So then, theory of planned behavior used to develop the construct. The construct intention to share knowledge. Right? So if you go through your the conceptual framework here, there are two categories of variables. I didn't use the more like moderate variable or intervene variable. So here there are set of independent variables. There are 6 and dependent variable intention to share knowledge. දැනුම හුවමාරු කර ගැනීමට තියෙන කැමැත්ත. So that's the dependent variable. That's the in your research question, right? Intention to share knowledge. So in other side, independent variable. So there are 6 independent variable, right? So the particular researcher, he used the theory of planned behavior is used to develop construct intention. So then he discussed the construct intention to share knowledge, right, with the theory of planned behavior. So which has 3 antecedents. So what is meant by antecedents? So the particular researcher defined the intention to share knowledge. The intention to share knowledge කියන එක ඇති වෙන්නේ ඊට පෙර పూర్ව antecedents. කාරණා තුනක් නිසා. What is that? Attitude towards knowledge, sharing behavior. කොච්චර දුරට දැනුම බෙදා ගන්න ඔහුගේ තියෙන ආකල්පය, subjective norms and pursued behavioral control. So those are the antecedents. The theory of planned behavior discuss the intention to share knowledge. So intention to share knowledge related with the theory of planned behavior. So when we discuss the theory of planned behavior, so there are 3 antecedents. So these are the 3 antecedents: attitude towards knowledge, sharing behavior, subjective norms, and pursued behavioral control. So this is how you conceptualize. Using the particular theory of planned behavior that discuss the intention to share knowledge, so he take the antecedents of that, right? Now, likewise, so you have to explain in your research. Then, McClellan theory, the second type theory, McClellan theory. McClellan, I think you have heard about McClellan. So you have all attended the small business management or entrepreneurship development. So there, this McClellan theory discussed. McClellan is a very important person. He developed a theory. Theory of needs. අවශ්‍යතාව පිළිබඳ තියෙන න්‍යාය. So McClellan theory of needs utilized to develop the construct psychological needs, which comprise 3 types of needs. In a McClellan theory, එක ගත්තහම ඒක discuss කරනවා psychological needs, right? ඔබේ මානසික අවශ්‍යතාවය. So there are 3 types of needs for achievement. යමක් ළඟා කර ගැනීමට තියෙන අවශ්‍යතාවය. Need for applications, යමක් පිළිබඳව සම්බන්ධ වීමට, affiliate වීමට තියෙන අවශ්‍යතාවය සහ need for power. බලයට තියෙන අවශ්‍යතාවය. Enact, need for achievement. Enact, need for appreciation. Empower, need for power. So then that discussed the McClellan theory of needs. The particular researcher conceptualized his framework using these two theories. So then, next point explain a positive relationship is proposed. A positive relationship is proposed between intention to share knowledge and both need for achievement and need for appreciation. Right? Positive relationship ධනාත්මක සම්බන්ධතාවයක් තියෙනවා between intention to share knowledge, right? And both need for achievement, need for appreciation, while negative relationship proposed between the intention to share and need for power. So then we'll go through this. So this is so basically a conceptual framework in a diagram, in a diagrammatic form, in a visual form, right? So there are two types of variables. So there are no moderators, mediators, but you can see two dependent variable. The dependent variable is intended to share knowledge, and independent variables are attitude towards knowledge, sharing behavior, subjective norms, perceived behavior. So that is get from where the theory called, right? Adjacent theory of planned behavior. මේ independent variables නිකන් එන්නේ නැහැ. ඔබ theory එක study කරලා ඒක antecedents තමයි මේ ගත්තේ. ඒ වගේම enact empower. අපිට නිකන් උඩින් පාත් උන්නේ නැහැ. right? Maclellan's के needs theory අවශ්‍යතා න්‍යායෙන් තමයි ආවේ. So you have to mention in here, right? So these the directions are all arrows. But arrow එකක් දාන්න බැරි වුණා මේකේ. So arrows, all arrows, right? So this is what. So then in the conceptualization, so basically you have to mention, so what is the theories or theory you have used to develop the conceptual framework, right? So then, so they are how you have arrived at these dependent variables and independent variables. So looking at the analyzing, studying the particular theory or theories, right? You can develop. So then you can see that what kind of relationship, right? What kind of relationships are there? Right? Okay, so this is what conceptualization. So then, so briefly, so you have to mention your conceptualization, how you have arrived at. කොහොමද මේ conceptual framework එක develop කරේ? So basically when you develop a conceptual framework, so you have to get the support, assistance of your theoretical framework. Again, theories. ඔබ research එක develop කරනකොට, so you have to have some theories. So then 3.5 formation of hypothesis. So now next step is hypothesis. So go back to your the research methodology notes and go through, refresh your memory. So basically there are directional hypothesis, non-directional hypothesis, null hypothesis, right? So on, right? Go through or refer to text, right? Now, so you have to mention the hypothesis of your study. How you develop hypothesis study? So basically looking at the dependent variable and independent variable, right? So I think you have some idea about your hypothesis, right? Hypothesis. So basically it's a tentative statement. You know that. ඔබ විසින් తాවකාලිකව හදන statement, right? Tentative statement. It's a tentative thing. Okay, so we look into some hypothesis based on this conceptual framework. We develop variables based on the conceptual framework, right? So according to the developed conceptual framework in figure 3.1, so this is 3.1 conceptual framework, right? The hypotheses relevant to each construct are given below, right? So hypothesis 1 to 3 are based on theory of planned behavior, and hypothesis 4 to 6 are on McClellan theory of needs, right? So a particular researcher has developed 6 hypotheses because of there are 6 variables. So then so these arrows you can name H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, H6, right? So first one, so you can have H1, the attitude towards knowledge sharing behavior and the intention to share knowledge. So the H2, you can have the subjective norms and the intention to share knowledge. H3, you can have the pursuit behavioral control and the intention to share knowledge. The H4, you can have the enact and intention to share knowledge. So the H5, you can have the enact and intention to share knowledge. And H6, you can have the empower and intention to share knowledge. So it is very simple. So look here, H1, attitude towards knowledge sharing behavior, right? Attitudes towards knowledge sharing behavior will positively influence. So attitudes towards knowledge sharing behavior. So the particular independent variable attitude towards knowledge sharing behavior will positively, right? So you say will positively influence බලපෑමක් කරනවා intention to share knowledge. So likewise, you can have H1, so then H2. Subjective norms, the second independent variable is the subjective norms. So subjective norms regarding knowledge sharing will positively influence intention to share knowledge. So then third one, perceived behavioral control. Perceived behavioral control. Perceived behavioral control over knowledge sharing will positively influence intention to share knowledge. So then H4, enact and intention to share knowledge, enact. Need for achievement, enact. Need for achievement, among knowledge workers will positively influence intention to share knowledge. So in this research, we are discussing the intention to share knowledge. That's the problematic area, that's the issue, that's the research survival variable, right? So then H5 need for applications. Enough. Need for applications. Need for applications among knowledge workers will positively influence intention to share knowledge. Then H6, need for power among knowledge workers will positively influence. So these are the set of hypotheses, right? Set of hypotheses. So you have developed. Set of hypotheses you have developed. So in your research, chapter 3, you have to mention. So what are the hypotheses, right? Hypotheses. So then in your key contents, so we have discussed introduction, introductory chapter, study design, then population, sample, sampling technique, conceptualization, and the formation of hypothesis. So then operationalization. Operation. So you have to operationalize. So that is very important. The most of students, right? Most of students neglect this operationalization, right? So you have to operationalize what you have developed. So using the key construct, key concept, right? So we'll see the operationalization. Now this is the model, this is the hypothesis. So then looking at the key variables, key construct in your conceptual framework. So you have to develop. You have to develop the operationalization process. Give me a minute. So operationalization. Operationalization. So you give some brief introduction on the unobservable concept. The unobservable. හරියටම හඳුනා ගන්න බැරි unobservable concept, unobservable construct are converted into variables and indicators that can be observable in the empirical world through operationalization given in table 3.1. So some of the concepts, some of the construct. So look here, intention to share knowledge. Then attitude towards a knowledge sharing behavior. Subjective norms, perceived behavioral control, need for achievement, need for applications, need for power, unobservable, so difficult to understand, right? So then you have to explain it in a way that the people, the researcher, the scientific community can observe. So then there you can collect the data. So just say, need for achievement, need for achievement. යමක් ළඟා කර ගැනීමට තියෙන අවශ්‍යතාවය. Need for appreciation, යමක් එක්ක සම්බන්ධ වීමේ අවශ්‍යතාවය. Need for power, බලයට තියෙන අවශ්‍යතාවය. So එහෙම කිව්වට, so what are the data you are going to collect? Attitude towards knowledge sharing behavior. දැනුම බෙදා ගැනීමට තියෙන ආකල්පය. එච්චර meaning එකක් එන්නේ නැහැ. Subjective norms. එච්චර meaning එකක් එන්නේ නැහැ. Perceived behavior. So then what to do? So both dependent and independent variable, this concept construct should be operationalized. So this is very important in your research. So you have to have some table, right? Looking at the key construct, key. So then look here. So I use first the dependent variable in the model. Intention to share knowledge. Intention to share knowledge. කැමැත්ත, දැනුම හුවමාරු කර ගැනීම සඳහා. එහෙම කිව්වට ඒක measure කරන්න බෑ. What are the measurement? What are the indicators? So then, so you have to clearly explain it. The table is called operationalization. So look here. So there are 4 columns basically. First column, the key construct or concept. So you narrow down into variable, then variable column. So then the indicators, then measurement, right? Then measurement. Intention to share knowledge. That's the key concept. So the intention to share knowledge using the concept, intention to share knowledge, you develop two variables. Once comes to the knowledge, so you know there are two types of knowledge. So these variables comes through your literature review. Huh? So you have to do a very comprehensive literature. Otherwise, very quickly you can't have explicit knowledge, implicit knowledge, right? So you have a good enough, very broad, very deep, very comprehensive, detailed, and critical literature review. May literature review kiරීමෙන් තමයි ඔබට මේ දැනුම එන්නේ. Right? So then concept construct තමයි intention to share knowledge. So then from that, so you develop two variables. Then so you can think about somewhat easy to understand. So knowledge are two types. What is that? Intention to share explicit knowledge, and intention to share implicit knowledge, implicit. So there are two types. So then තවත් තේරුම් ගන්නවා. So then you develop indicators. කොහොමද මේවට තොරතුරු එකතු කරන්නේ? So very important. So you have to have indicators. Indicators. So when it comes to the intention to share explicit knowledge, so look, indicators. So there are two indicators. Intention to share work reports and official documents with other organization members. So then, when it comes to the explicit knowledge, that means the knowledge can be shared. The knowledge can be transferred by means of the handouts, to the lectures, to the documents, right? So many. Implicit knowledge means the knowledge cannot be shared or delivered through the documents, lectures, handouts, etc. Right? So that's the meaning. So then for the variable intention to share explicit knowledge, we develop two indicators. So what are the two indicators? A, intention to share work reports. Work, office එකේ තියෙන වැඩපිළිවෙල වාර්තා share කරගන්න කැමතියි. And official documents with other organization members. Office එකේ අනිත් කට්ටියත් එක්ක කාර්යාලීය රාජකාරීනේ documents තොරතුරු share කරන්න කැමතියි. So it's a one indicators. So now it is easy to understand. No? So this is the indicator. Right? Indicator A, intention to share work reports and official documents with other organs. So then you can develop your questionnaire. Your questionnaire start with this indicators. Make a කෙලින්ම cut and paste කරලා ඔබේ right? ඔබේ questionnaire එක හදන්න පුළුවන්. එහෙම නැත්නම් වෙන තැනකින් නෙමෙයි එන්නේ. So you have to use the construct or concept, then variable, then indicators. Then under the measurement, right? So the questionnaire, question number 14 discussed, right? Questionnaire, question number 14, right? So then what is the second indicator of explicit knowledge? B, intention to provide manuals, right? යමක් කරන ආකාරය manuals. Then intention to provide manuals, methodologies and models for members of the organization. එහෙනම් ඒ වැඩක් කරන පිළිබඳ manuals තියෙනවා. ඒ ආයතනයක. Employee manuals, marketing manuals, accounting manuals, so many manuals. Right. So that's the second explicit knowledge. Methodologies, ඒ පිළිබඳ ක්‍රමවේද, models, ඒ පිළිබඳ ආදර්ශ, ඒ පිළිබඳ procedures, ඒ පිළිබඳ gazettes, whatever. Right. So then, so you can understand what is operationalization. So the construct, the concept that is very difficult to observable, unobservable. So then you narrow down into variables. So variable, once again, you use indicators, right? So for the international analysis, so there are two questions in the questionnaire, question number 14 and question number 15. So you see in the measurement column. So question number 15, the same time there is a within bracket, some citation. Book et al. 2005. So he taken a question from the researcher and others. A book at all කියන researchers ලාගේ research එකේ question එකකින් ඔහු ප්‍රශ්නයක් දාලා මෙතෙන්ට. So you can also copy and paste, but you have to give the proper acknowledgement, right? So likewise, so you can develop and you can get something else, some other research, right? Okay, then intention to share knowledge has two variables: intention to share explicit knowledge, and other one is intention to share implicit knowledge. Implicit knowledge කියන්නේ ඒ දැනුම අපිට පන්ති කාමරයකදී handouts වලින් රූප ඇඳලා models ඇඳලා share කරගන්න අමාරුයි. So then what are the indicators? A, B, C, O, C, D, E. Intention to share work experience with other organism members. මෙතනදී intention to share work experience. Okay, වැඩ පුරුද්ද, බලපුරුද්ද, දැකපුරුද්ද, කරපුරුද්ද, right? Work experience with other organism members. So that's the question number 16 in the question. අපි අහනවා ඔබ කැමතිද අනිත් කට්ටියත් එක්ක ඔබේ experience එක බෙදා ගන්න. අපි අහනවා Likert scale එකෙන් ප්‍රශ්නයක් අහනවා. I, right? මම කැමති I like to share work experience with other organizational members. මේකට ඒකත් එක්ක highly agreed, neutral, not agreed, highly not agreed. So likewise, you can have a Likert scale. These are the statement. Using these indicators, මේ indicators අරගෙන ඔබේ question එකේ statement එකක් හදලා ඒක Likert scale එකට දාලා අපිට distribute කරලා මේ සේවකයන්ගේ response එක ගන්න පුළුවන්. Right? So look at the second indicator on implicit knowledge. Implicit knowledge එකේ දෙවෙනි indicator එක ඒකේ අහනවා D, intention to provide know where or know whom, කොහෙද, know where, then know whom at the request of other organizational members. ඒකේ තුන්වෙනි එක අහනවා intention to share expertise from education or training with other organizations. ඔබ කැමතිද ඔබේ share කරගන්න ඔබේ විශේෂඥතාවය, ඔබ අධ්‍යාපනයෙන් ඔබ පුහුණු වලින් ගත්තු ඒ expertise knowledge එක with other members. So these are the indicators. So this is how you can operationalize the key construct of your research, right? So likewise, now අපි මේ සාකච්ඡා කරේ in the conceptual framework එකේ dependent variable එක. Intention to share knowledge, right? So you have to collect the data, right? Now using the questionnaire, so it is very easy to collect the data. Okay, so then we come into the operationalize the independent variables. So there are 6 independent variables: attitude towards knowledge sharing behavior, subjective norms, pursuit control, behavior control, need for achievement, need for applications, need for power, right? So I have not completed, but I just put, so attitude towards knowledge sharing behavior. ඔබ හැසිරීම කොහොමද ඒ දැනුම ලබා ගන්න. So we can have 2 variables. So behavioral beliefs, ඔබේ හැසිරීම පිළිබඳව ඔබේ තියෙන විශ්වාසයන්, ඒකට අපිට indicators හදන්න පුළුවන්. Outcome evaluation, right? අපේ යම් කිසි වැඩක outcome එක, ඒ ප්‍රතිඵලය ඔබ කොහොමද අවබෝධ කරන්නේ. So through that we can measure it. Then subjective norms, විෂයාත්මක norms, ප්‍රතිමාන කියලා කියනවා. So there are 2 variables: normative beliefs and motivation to comply. So likewise, pursued behavioral control, ඒකේ variable දෙක තමයි control beliefs and pursuit power of control factor. Then the next one, psychological needs, that discuss the McClellan theory of needs, right? Need for achievement. Need for achievement. Need for applications. Need for applications. Need for power. So these three also we can develop indicators. So then you directly you can cut and paste in your question as a statement, right? So this is how you can develop your operationalization table. So especially the for total conceptual framework, conceptual model, right? So you have to develop hypothesis. So then operationalization table. So this is very important. This is a key. So then after developing, finalizing the operationalization table, it is very easy to develop your questionnaire. මහන්සියක් වෙනසක් ඕනේ මේකේ තියෙන මේ indicators ටික අරගෙන ඒක statements විදිහට අපි හරි ගස්සනවා නිර්මාණය කරලා අපි ඒකට Likert scale එක දානවා highly agree neutral disagree highly disagree 5 point scale එක. එහෙනම් 7 point scale එකට අපි දානවා. Right? So then you can distribute. You can use that questionnaire in the data collection, right? Data collection. So then our next element in the methodology chapter 3 is after the operationalization, data collection. Data collection, right? So in the classroom, we have discussed there are several methods in the data collection. Go back to your previous note. So basically there are 5. We use the questionnaire survey, right? Then we use the interview. We use. Then the observation, niරීක්ෂණය. Questionnaire survey, interview, සම්මුඛ පරීක්ෂණ ක්‍රමය, and observations. So then experiment and case study. In collecting data, right? Basically, if you are having the quantitative research, basically you go for questionnaire survey, right? Questionnaire survey, or you use the qualitative, so you can use the interviews method and observation. Right? So the majority of students, their approach is the quantitative research. So you use a questionnaire, right? So then, in particular, (3.7) data collection. So you have to explain how we are going to use the data collection. So then, this is how you can write chapter 3, 3.7 data collection subheading, right? Remember that. So basically, as per the guidelines of the department, it was mentioned the number of pages, so number of words included in your study report, dissertation study. So then from the chapter 3, chapter 2, you can add more pages. The same time, chapter 3 also can be utilized to add more pages. So then at the starting as a start point, so you can define what is data collection. So you can give something, quote in some researchers, right? So look here, I quote Pollitt and Hungler. They define data. What is data? Data as information obtained during the course of the investigation or study, right? So you can define something, 2-3 lines, right? So then the research explaining in this study, questionnaire were used to obtain data relevant to the study, objectives and research question. Right? He explaining me අධ්‍යයනයේදී question එක පාවිච්චි කරනවා. ඔබේ අධ්‍යයනයේ අරමුණු study objectives and research questions වලට relevant ගැළපෙන තොරතුරු ඉදිරි කරන්න. Right? So you can give some explanation, description, right? Then he mentioned the purpose of the study. The purpose of the study was to identify reasons why now. So once again, I am taking the adolescent's mother's research, right? In the data collection explaining, the purpose of the study was to identify the reasons why adolescent mothers fail to use contraceptives to prevent unplanned pregnancies. The researcher approached every adolescent's mother who attended one of the two participating baby clinics to participate in the study. Right? Who explain කරන කොහොමද මේ research එකට සම්බන්ධන elements research ඒගොල්ලෝ පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ. So every adolescent mother who was willing to participate received a letter with information about the study, consent and a consent. So the research explained ඒ හැම අම්මා කෙනෙකුටම letter එක question එකක් යවනවා. So then remember that. So when you develop your questionnaire, right? When you develop your questionnaire, so you have to have a covering letter, right? Basically, a questionnaire has basically two parts. One is the demographic information of the respondent and the information relating to the particular variables, right? So with that, so we have to write nice letter. So I am so and so, I am say your name, undergraduate of YM University of Sri Lanka, Department of Business Management, Faculty of Business Studies Finance, right? Right. So you have to mention, so I am studying for the BSc Business Management degree program as a part of fulfillment requirement of the degree program, the course. So I have to do a research study. So likewise, so I am planning, I'm going to conduct a research study on title like a research title like a so right research the information I'm going to collect from you, not revealed or kept under confidential manner, right? And not revealed to third party, right? Please, it takes few minutes to complete the questionnaire and give your plus support or cooperation to fulfill the task. කියලා covering letter එකක් ලියලා ඒකත් එක්ක අමුණලා ඔබ questionnaire එක ඔබ send කරනවා. නැත්නම් deliver කරනවා, distribute කරනවා among the respondent, right? Exam එකේ the researcher approached every adolescent mothers who attend one of two participating baby clinics participants in the study. Every adolescent's mother who was willing to participate received a letter with information about the study, a consent form, and a questionnaire. Or if you are using the Google form, so same letter can be inserted there, right? Okay, the last point here, the researcher assisted by volunteers. Researcher the researcher assisted by volunteers from the Love Life organization handed out questionnaire on the specific days when she was present these clinics, blah blah blah, right? So when 107 adolescent mothers had completed questionnaire, so you have to mention distributed this question, but methodology part so after, right? So in the past tense you have to write conducted the particular event day during year and how many attended, right? How many so you can calculate the response rate, how many distributed, the number of questionnaire distributed and number of questionnaire received as a percentage of 100. We call response rate, right? The particular researcher saying when 107 adolescent mothers had completed the questionnaire. The complete questionnaire was handed over to the statistician for data analysis, something like that. Okay, so brief introduction to the data collection. So then 3.7.1. So you have to mention your data collection instrument. So there are several instruments. So you can have a questionnaire, you can have an interview, observation, so then experiment, then case study. So those are the basics instrument in collecting data. So in this research, may parallels in the research, data collection instrument refers to device used to collect data such as questionnaires, test, structured interviews, schedules, checklists, or whatever. So you can refer to the Sekaranno, whatever researcher. So basically in the classroom, we have explained you. So there are 5 we use: the questionnaire, the interviews, the observations, experiment, and what? Case study. So you can see. So in this research, the particular researcher is explaining, Polit and Hungler define questionnaire. He used questionnaire. He explained what is questionnaire. Define questionnaire as a method of gathering information from respondent about attitudes, knowledge, beliefs, and feelings. A questionnaire regarding what? Attitudes, knowledge, then beliefs, viswasya, and feelings. So these are not numbers. Using a questionnaire, we collect. So then questionnaire was designed to gather information about adolescent mothers' knowledge, attitude, beliefs regarding contraceptive. Api ඉස්සරලා තියෙන example එක අපි ගත්ත මේ model එක ඔබට පුළුවන් question එකකට පාවිච්චි කරන්න intention to share knowledge, right? දැනුම බෙදා ගැනීමට තියෙන කැමැත්ත පිළිබඳව, right? ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ attitudes, right? So their knowledge ඒ ටික එකතු කරගන්න පුළුවන්, right? Intention to share knowledge, regarding their attitudes, their beliefs, their etc. Okay, so then, so mention ඔබ මෙතනදී පැහැදිලිව ලියන්න ඔබ මොකද්ද තොරතුරු එකතු කිරීමකට ගත්ත instrument එක. Is an interview, is a questionnaire, observation, whatever, mix එකක් ගත්තා නේ ඒ ටික පැහැදිලි කරන්න පුංචි definition එකකුත් දීලා. Okay. Then 2.72, the particular researcher use a questionnaire. So you have to give something. How you can develop the questionnaire? Develop the questionnaire. කොහොමද මේක questionnaire එක develop කරන්නේ? Very important. The literature review indicate that adolescents' knowledge, attitudes, and beliefs about contraceptives influence their decisions on whether or not to use contraceptives, right? So, second point, this study attempted to identify reasons why adolescents' mothers fail to use contraceptives to prevent unplanned pregnancies. So the literature review indicated that adolescents face numerous challenges to use contraceptive effectively. So you explained the key concept, right? These contraceptive challenges are categorized into individual perceptions, modifying factors, variable effect on the likelihood of the using contraceptives effectively in terms of major tenets of the HBM, human behavior model, right? Okay, so then give not much, but briefly, right? Your key concept. Then the questionnaire was based on the literature review, right? Of the questionnaire, එක කොහොමද develop කරන්නේ? So based on the literature, in the literature, through the literature, we develop a what? Operationalization process, operationalization table. So then, so even you can say the questionnaire was based on the operationalization in this chapter and other research instrument using the similar study. So whatever. right? The questionnaire was based on the literature review, see chapter 2, and other research instrument. So you can copy and paste if there are similar things from other researchers, but you have to give the proper acknowledgement. මා ඒක තමයි මෙන්න මෙතන කියලා තියෙන්නේ මේ රිසර්ච් එකේ මෙතන B indicator B වල question number 15 Book et al and question number 18 Book et al. A researchers like questionnaire එකකින් අමව questionnaire කරගන්න. So you can directly cut and paste, but you have to mention who is the researcher and the year. So the questionnaire was based on literature and other research instrument using the similar samana adhyana. The questionnaire was complied and discussed with researchers to supervisors. So before distributing the questionnaire, you have to develop, compile. So then you have to discuss with your research supervisor, right? Right? Or professional nurses working in labor ward. So this is due to the adolescent mothers. A researcher කතා කරලා දෙන professional nurses working in the labor wards and clinics in the particular city. And statisticians. ඔබ questionnaire හදලා ඒක ඔබේ supervisor එක්ක එහෙම නැත්නම් ඒක පිළිබඳ ප්‍රමාණවත් දැනුමක් තියෙන. Right? Expertise knowledge එකක් තියෙන පුද්ගලයෙක් එක්ක කතා කරන්න. ඔවුන්ගේ අදහස් වලින් නැවත ඔබ revisit කරනවා ඔබේ questionnaire එක. So changes suggested by these persons were implemented. ඒගොල්ලෝ කරන suggestions ඔබ පිළිගන්නවා. The questionnaires were typed and translated into Zulu. ඒ කියන්නේ භාෂාවකට පරිවර්තනය කළා. ඔබ apparel industry එකේ තොරතුරු එකතු කරන පල්ලෙහාම grassroots level එකේ සේවකයන්ගේ ඒගොල්ලන්ට ඉංග්‍රීසි බෑ. ඔබ ඉංග්‍රීසියෙන් මේක develop කරලා ඒක translate කරන්න සිංහලට. An expert in English, Zulu translation, so blah blah, right? So ඒකයි මේ කියන්නේ. ඒක ඒ වගේම your questionnaire should be annexed in annexure. Your questionnaire should be attached as an annexure, right? So then ඔබ questionnaire එක develop කරලා draft එකක් හදලා ඒක supervisor එක්ක කතා කරලා තව expertise knowledge එකක් තියෙන කෙනෙක් කතා කරලා ඒක සිංහලට පරිවර්තනය කරලා මොකද respondent ඉංග්‍රීසි දන්නේ නැත්නම් ඔබ එකපාරටම ඔබේ sample එක 100 නම් 200 නම් 300 නම් you never sent to total. So before sending that, what you do? Pilot study was conducted with 12 adolescent mothers. මේ researcher 12 දෙනෙක් අම්මලා අරගෙන ඒගොල්ලොත් එක්ක මේක හුවමාරු කරගෙන ඒගොල්ලොත් එක discuss කරලා who visited the clinics. So these 12 adolescent mothers did not participate in the actual study. ඒගොල්ලෝ actual එකේ සම්බන්ධ නැහැ, pilot study එකක් කරනවා. ඔබේ after compiling your questionnaire මුංචි pilot study එකක් කරන්න 10 දෙනෙක් විතර අරගෙන ඒ අදාළ respondent unit of analysis එකත් එක්ක ඔබ ඒක හුවමාරු කරගෙන discuss කරන්න. All 12 managed to complete the questionnaire within 30 minutes and understood the question. ඔබට ඕන මේ ඔබ කියපු කතන්දරේ ප්‍රශ්න මේගොල්ලන්ට තේරෙනවද නැද්ද? So we have discussed in how to develop a questionnaire. ප්‍රශ්නාවලියක් හදන්නේ කොහොමද කියලා අපි කතා කරලා තියෙනවා. ඒකෙන්ද අපි කියනවා points 10ක් තියෙනවා questionnaire එක. මේ points 10ට අනුව questionnaire එක හදන්න ඕනේ. Right? Technical jargons in the bad, double barrel question in the bad. So there are so many. Go back to your previous notes and check. So before finalizing your questionnaire, right? All 12 managed to complete the questionnaire within 30 minutes and understood the question. No apparent problems were encountered during the completion of the questionnaire, except that some contraceptive terms were apparently not well known because some respondents consulted the English questionnaire to understand. In the technical jargons, දාන්න එපා questionnaire එකට. ඒගොල්ලන්ට අවබෝධ කරගන්න බෑ. So when they are misunderstood, they give wrong information, wrong response. ඒකවල ඔබේ analysis වැරදිලා hypothesis test වෙන්නේ නැහැ. Based on this observation, last point, the English contraceptive terms were included in brackets. එතකොට ඒගොල්ලන්ට තේරුම් යන්න පුළුවන් සරල භාෂාවකින් ඒ කතන්දරේ කියන්න ඕන ඔබ ජාගන් යෙදුවොත්. The questionnaire in order to enhance the respondents' comprehensions of the contraceptive terms used. Right? So that is very important. Okay, so that you have to mention the development of the questionnaire. කොහොමද කරේ? Then you have to give the structure of the questionnaire. ඔබේ ප්‍රශ්නාවලියේ structure එක විවෘත දෙන්න. The questionnaire consists of the following 4 sections. ඔබේ එකේ 5ක් 6ක් 7ක් 8ක් තියෙන පුළුවන් sections. So mention section A, personal, biographical, demographical data, right? Then section B, the particular research, right? Sex education ගැන අහන්නේ, right? ලිංගික අධ්‍යාපනය පිළිබඳව. So then section C, knowledge, attitudes and beliefs regarding the contraceptives. Then section D, terminations of pregnancy. So likewise, so in the particular, if we look at this model, ඔබට කොටස් කීපයකට ඔබට intention to share knowledge, part 1 personal information, part 2 intention to share, then part C එක එක මේ so if you look at the attitude towards knowledge, subjective norms, perceptive. So looking at this Addison's theory of planned behavior, එක ප්‍රශ්න කොටසකුත්, then McClellan need theory of needs වලට enact empower වලට තව part එකකුත් එහෙම නැත්නම් එක එක independent variable එකේ variable එක ඔබට වෙන වෙනම parts ඔබට දාන්න පුළුවන්, right? So you can determine that. So structure of the question. Section A, section B, section C, section D, etc. The items contained in the questionnaire comprising both open-ended and closed question. Me questionnaire එකේ තියෙන ප්‍රශ්න විවෘත ප්‍රශ්න සහ ආවෘත ප්‍රශ්න කියලා කියනවා. Attempt to identify the factors contributing to adolescents' mothers' non-utilization of contraceptives in the peer retreat area, the particular city. Right? So you can mention something. ඔබ close-ended questions දාන්න පුළුවන්, open-ended questions දාන්න පුළුවන්, whatever. So then, in the data collection, very important, reliability of the research instrument. ඔබ තොරතුරු එකතු කරන්න ගන්න instrument questionnaire එකේ reliability, විශ්වාසවන්තභාවය. You have to write something. So reliability of the research instrument. So what is reliability? Reliability refers to the degree of consistency and accuracy with which instrument measures attribute it is designed to measure. Reliability කියන්නේ මොකක්ද? ඔබ හදන ප්‍රශ්නය ඒකෙන් ඒ තොරතුරු ඒ instrument එකෙන් questionnaire එකෙන් හරියටම ඒක නිවැරදිව measure වෙනවා. Reliability refers to the degree of consistency and accuracy. Consistency and accuracy with an instrument measures the attribute designed to measure. Then, if a study and its results are reliable, it means that the same results would be obtained if the study were to be replaced. So I think you have gone through reliability in the literature, in the classroom sessions, methodology. So write something about reliability, right? Pre-test utilizing adolescents. So go through, right? Write the relevant. Then, so that is the reliability. Reliability are 2 types, right? So reliability, so there are 2 concepts. One is the reliability, other one is the validity. So in a questionnaire, so you have to maintain both reliability and validity. Validity of the research instrument means what? Validity refers to the degree to which instrument measures what supposed to measure. ඔබ mind බලාපොරොත්තු වෙච්ච දේ මැනෙනවා. Reliability කියන්නේ so instrument ඔබ plan කරපු එක මැනෙනවා. ඒකේ consistency එක දිගටම මැනෙනවා. And accuracy එක නිරවද්‍යතාවය තියෙනවා. Validity refers to the degree to which the instrument measures what is supposed to measure. Be subcategorized into external and internal. Validity. So validity consists with 2, internal validity and external. So write something if you wish, right? External validity. So some quoting. External validity is the extent to which the results can be generalized beyond the sample used in the study. This usually depends on the degree to which sample represent population. So write something external validity and write something internal validity, right? Internal validity is the extent to which factors influencing adolescents, mothers, non-utilization of contraceptives are true reflection of reality rather than results of the effects of extraneous or chance variables or not necessarily related to the factors influencing contraceptive non-utilization. So these two validities are very important under the validity of the research instrument. So write something. Then 3.8. So we are coming to we have discussed the data collection. So data collection instrument. How you are going to develop the instrument. Then how we are going to measure the validity and the reliability. So you have to mention, so data analysis technique. Now how we are going to analyze the collected data. Data collected from different sources were processed and analyzed for discussion. So data analysis technique. So you have to say something. So appropriate computer software was used to analyze data, both Excel, SPSS, or whatever computer software were employed to analyze the descriptive statistics to see the extent of effectiveness of the prepaid metering system. So this part I have taken somewhere else, right? So say something, how we are going to analyze the data. So what are the techniques you are going to use? Or data analysis method. Similarly to the aid of cross tabulations and ordered frequency tables, figures, and final outcomes or the true picture of the weather, prepaid metering system, or whatever. So then you can use descriptive statistics, correlations, regression analysis, or whatever the tools, the techniques, or data analysis instrument. So you are going to use. So under the 3.8, explain. So what are the data analysis technique? So then finally, so you can have a summary of the total chapter summary, 2, 3, 4 lines, chapter summary, right? Okay, so this is what basically. So basically, you can think about. Right, developing the chapter 3 methodology. So basically, so you have to explain to answer your research questions, to answer your research objectives. So what is the master plan? Or what's the blueprint? Right? How we are going to answer this? The particular method, the methodologies, right? So this is very important. So this is like, say, when you want to build up a house, so you prepare the particular plan with the help of the architecture or structural engineer. So he says, so these are required. So likewise, so in your research, to answer your research objectives, to answer your research questions, so what is your study design, the population, sampling technique, the conceptualization, hypothesis, operationalization, data collection, and data analysis technique. Okay, so this is what I plan to discuss with you today. So you can don't limit to my discussion. So further enhanced your expertise in this area. Prepare several research how they have and prepare number of things but using the particular format given to you by the department. Chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5. So there are 5 chapters. Look at the chapter 3 of the department relevant to you, and so accordingly develop your chapter. It's very easy, right? It's a very easy. So from here, it is very important your study design, your population, sampling technique, sample size. So you have to mention all those. The conceptual framework, then hypothesis, then operationalization table, and data collection method, and data analysis technique. So basically, these are the very important things. Okay, any questions? If you want to clarify further, so you can now, this is time for you to raise something. Any question now? This is time to raise, or now based on your the research, you can have a discussion with your supervisor. Yeah, so there is a question, cross-sectional and longitudinal. So now assume that now you have prepared your questionnaire. So you want to study the job satisfaction among the executives in financial institutions. But අවශ්‍යයි මූල්‍ය ශේෂ්ත්‍රයේ ඉන්න executives ලගේ job satisfaction එක study කරන්න. So then you prepare your questionnaire and you distribute with the particular selected sample, right? The particular day, right? So within a week, so you collected all things. So that's a cross-sectional one. That's a cross-sectional one. Longitudinal means what? So longitudinal means the collection of data not conduct at once, but several stages. Stages keep taking through. So today you collect the data. So within, say you assume this kind of research. So you want to study the economic development of governing people in Sri Lanka. ලංකාවේ ආර්ථික වර්ධනය ඒ රටේ රාජ්‍ය නායකයන් ගන්නවා. So you develop a questionnaire, right? So you say you distributed the questionnaire to the people, the respondent, this month. So then within 6 months time, the massa hiking, the same questionnaire you develop, you distribute, you collect the data. So then you have 2 sets of data, right? You compare this. So that is the longitudinal. So you collect data not only once, in several stages. අපි තමු ළමයෙකුගේ මෙමරි එක වර්ධනය වීම සම්බන්ධයෙන් අපට conclusion එකකට එන්න ඕන නම් එකපාරක් අපිට රිසර්ච් එකක් කළා මදි. So year 4, year 5, year 6, year 7. So several years you collect the data from the same type of students, same type of kids, same type of children. So that's the longitudinal study. Cross-sectional means at once, within week, දවස් 5ක් 6ක් අතරතුර ඔබ එකපාරයි තොරතුරු එකතු කරන්නේ. So this is the idea. right? Okay, so it's a very important so when we develop a questionnaire, uh, so that the reliability and validity is important. So we check that the questionnaire. So there is a Cronbach alpha test, right? So once we collect the data, we insert it into the particular software. So there you can see, you can check the Cronbach alpha. Through that you can see this the reliability. The reliability is what? The reliability refers to the degree of consistency and accuracy with which an instrument measures attributes designed to measure. You can assume that. So we develop a questionnaire. මේ questionnaire එක develop කරලා අපි තොරතුරු එකතු කරපුවාම අපි if we use the questionnaire over again අපි කීප වතාවක්ම අපි ඒ same questionnaire එක පාවිච්චි කරලා අපි තොරතුරු එකතු කරොත් ඒකේ same result එකක් එන්න අපි කියනවා reliability කියලා. The reliability refers to the degree of consistency and accuracy with which an instrument measures the attribute it is designed to measure, right? අපි දැන් application එකක් develop කරලා ඒක measure කරලා ඒක distribute කරලා තොරතුරු අරගෙන අපි එකේ conclusion එකට එනවා result එකක් එනවා. අපි තව මාස දෙකකින් අපි same questionnaire එක ඒ same kind of students ලාට දීලා දුන්නාම ඒකේ එන පිළිතුර දෙක සමාන වෙන්න ඕනේ. So then we say the reliable, right? What is mean by the validity? Validity refers to degree which the instrument measure what is supposed to measure. අපි හිතමු අපට ළමයෙකුගේ බරමනින්න ඕන. අපි බරමනිනවා if you want to measure the weight. අපි kilograms වලින් නෙමෙයි ඉන්නේ. නමුත් අපි kilograms වලින් නැතුව අපි meters වලින් අපිට මයින්න බෑ. අපි meters ගන්නවා නම් බරමයි ඉන්න wrong. ඒකයි මේ කියන්නේ. So validity refers to the degree to which the instrument measures what is supposed to measure, right? අපි මැනෙන දේ හරියට මැනෙනවද? අපි indicators හරියට ගන්නවද? So that's the idea, right? Very briefly. Okay, so thank you. So if you have any questions, so you can refer to I upload this presentation to the LMS and so you can refer, consult your supervisor if you have any matter pertaining to the methodology, right? So then you can get a good advice, right? Okay, dear students, so then we'll conclude. So thank you very much for your cooperation. If there are heavy rains, so still there's rain, some instructions. So you attempt, right? You attend are greatly appreciated. So thank you and good luck.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Make it